You are alone in a quiet room right now. Nothing is buzzing. Nothing is ringing. For a moment, nothing is demanding your attention at all. It feels peaceful, but give it 15 minutes and something strange starts to happen inside your skull. Your mind begins to scream. In 2014, a psychologist named Timothy Wilson at the University of Virginia decided to test what happens when people are left with nothing but their own thoughts. He and his team put participants alone in a bare room. No phone, no book, no windows to stare out of, just a chair, four walls, and their own mind for 6 to 15 minutes. Simple, right? It was not simple. It was almost unbearable. Before the experiment began, Wilson gave each participant one more object, a small device that delivered a mild electric shock, painful enough that most people, when asked beforehand, said they would pay money to avoid ever feeling it again. Then he left them alone with a choice. Sit quietly with your thoughts, or press the button and shock yourself. You would think the answer is obvious. Nobody chooses pain over peace. You would be wrong. A quarter of the women and 2/3 of the men in the study chose to shock themselves rather than sit in silence with nothing to do but think. One man shocked himself 190 times in 15 minutes. Think about that. Real, physical pain felt better to his brain than empty, undirected quiet. Why would silence feel worse than pain? To understand that, you have to go back further than any laboratory, further than psychology itself. You have to go back to the world your brain was actually built for, a world that never had quiet rooms at all. For most of human history, silence did not mean peace. Silence meant danger. A bioacoustics researcher named Bernie Krause spent decades recording natural soundscapes around the world, from rainforests to coral reefs. He found something your ancestors already knew instinctively. A healthy environment is never truly silent. Birds call. Insects hum. Wind moves through leaves. Life makes noise, constantly, as background proof that everything is normal. Krause discovered that predators moving through an environment cause a very specific effect. The birds stop singing. The insects go quiet. A hush spreads outward from the danger like a ripple on water. Ecologists call this the landscape of fear, and it is ancient. It exists in nearly every habitat on Earth. Your ancestors lived inside that landscape every single day, and their brains adapted to read one signal above almost all others. When the noise around you disappears, something dangerous might be near. That is not a metaphor. That is wiring. So when a modern human sits alone in a silent room with nothing to distract them, the ancient parts of the brain do not interpret it as relaxation. They interpret it as a warning that is not yet resolved. No predator appears. No threat arrives. But the alarm system stays partially lit, waiting for information that never comes. And in that gap, your mind reaches for something, anything, to fill the silence with meaning. Usually it reaches for you. Your own thoughts flood in. Old arguments replay. Unfinished worries surface. Regrets you buried under busyness suddenly have nowhere to hide. This is why so many people instinctively fill silence the moment it appears, with music, with scrolling, with background noise from a television nobody's even watching. It is not really about entertainment. It is about turning off a signal your ancestors' brains once used to survive. There is a room, though, that takes this even further, a place built to be quieter than anything nature ever produced. Inside a lab in Minnesota, an acoustic engineer named Stephen Orfield built what has been measured as the quietest space on the planet. It is called an anechoic chamber. The walls are lined with thick foam wedges that absorb 99.99% of all sound. Step inside, close the door, and something unsettling happens almost immediately. There is no echo. There is no hum. The silence is so complete that people begin to hear their own bodies, blood moving through veins, the grinding of joints, even the sound of their own heartbeat amplified by the absence of everything else. Orfield's team found that the longest anyone has managed to stay inside alone in total darkness is around 45 minutes. Most visitors leave far sooner. Some report a growing sense of panic within minutes. In a world that never lets you hear yourself this clearly, being handed total silence does not feel like relief. It feels like exposure. What does that tell you about the world you actually live in now? You spend almost no time in true silence. Notifications arrive every few minutes. Traffic hums outside your window. Conversations, music, video. A constant layer of sound wrapping around your day like insulation.